Hey YouTube, how you doing? My name's Charlotte and I'm an artist that studies the human body here in Wiltshire in the UK. And welcome to my Japan series. So there's a huge range of stationery stores in Japan, and I'm calling them stationery stores for a reason. There wasn't many art shops where I thought, like in the UK, we've got Hobbycraft. You walk in, you've got everything from fabrics, yarns, all the way through to cross stitch. You've got model aeroplanes and everything you need really. But in Japan, it was more stationery based. I don't know whether that's because of the stores that I visited or the place I was in. For Tokyo, you need some stationery to get through a day. So we explored quite a lot of the city, and through that I was pinning some of the art and stationery stores that did interest me. So one of the most surprising things when Googling was that a lot of the stationery was in department stores. One of the key ones that I picked out was Muji. I wanted to visit there anyway because they have everything from clothes to homeware, and then you turn the corner and they have a little stationery island. And I'm not talking little, I am talking like a good sized area that had everything from a little wall of pens. I think there must have been like 50 pens you could choose from, all the way through to rubbers, calculators, post-it notes, and everything in between that you'd need for studying, for your office, or for perhaps day-to-day life. Throughout this as well, there was amazing storage systems that you could use anywhere in your home or office, and I was very, very tempted to buy quite a few of these, but alas, we did not have room in the suitcase. That was my excuse anyway. So you had quite a lot of department stores that had stationery areas or stationery floors. Other ones like Itoya were more specialist and they were more art based. So Itoya was different floors with different specialities. It was really cool to see this because, again, in the UK, it could be perhaps one general art and craft store, or you have to go somewhere specific to get some certain paints. And to go into Itoya, we start at the top. We're like, we're going up here. And it went through a floor of paper craft. So all the kind of paper that you might need for creating origami, cards, through to other paper craft. Can't think of any right now, but if you're a paper crafter, please do comment on what you might create. One floor was for kind of hobby crafting, and I say that loosely in terms of it was kind of anything and everything you might need, but it was still a very sort of collect sample of items. There was a stationery floor, so a lot of diaries as well as the pens, a little bit fancier than the department stores, and then also the other sort of stationery and organisational items that you might want and need. And then there was the colour floor. The colour floor was something else entirely. They had a whole wall of paper samples in every single colour under the sun, and to see it hung up was really beautiful. It also meant that you could just take the swab that you wanted. You could have a look at the different colours and match them together if you're doing a certain project, and it meant that you weren't going to pick up a piece of paper that was already trashed by someone else. So you went up to the till, they collected the paper for you in the right size and everything, and voila, you had your pristine paper. On that floor as well was the most organised paint I think I've ever seen. But bearing in mind this was at the beginning of our trip when we hadn't visited a couple of other stores. It had such a huge range of items that I just wanted to collect them all. And there was certain brands as well, and a few brands that you might hear in the UK, but otherwise it was also a little bit more traditional. There was oils, watercolours, acrylics, a lot of gouache. Don't know if I say that right, but we're going with it. There are also other specialist stores, like fabric stores. So I can't remember which city we were in, but we did visit a specialist tailor shop, and they had floors upon floors of fabric, which was just simply amazing. I had to get dragged out by my husband. Sorry. As soon as you walked in though, there was 2 long sort of bins with scrap fabric in, ends of rolls, that kind of thing. And I was just digging through it for ages. And then there were like the fat quarters, and then as you got further in, you could see more and more of the fabrics that they had. So there was a lot of American fabric, but they also had all the traditional Japanese fabric and also quilted fabric. So you could, if you wanted a quilted jumper, jacket or something, then you could go pre-buy that fabric without having to do loads of the hassle yourself. I thought it was quite an ingenious way. So as I said, there was a lot of stationery shops and not very many specific art shops. However, while in Tokyo, we did visit Hokkaido. Just wow. It honestly took my breath away. And again, I could have been in there for hours. Hokkaido had everything from dismantled canvas stretcher frames to gold leaf sketchbooks to traditional calligraphy inks. And honestly, I've said it before, but it had everything in between. And as a more professional artist, when I was in there, it wasn't like Hobbycraft here in the UK or a general art store or craft store or stationery store. You could really tell that the artists were appreciated for what they do and the craft that they have or the art that they make. And it honestly made me feel quite appreciated as I was walking around, because not only did you have the gold leaf, but you had the glue, you had the applicator, you had the brushes. It wasn't just a, oh, here's your starter pack that you might have found perhaps in the range. But for gold leaf, if you're using it quite often, you do need to replenish your tools and you do need to look after them. And they had everything there, which was so wonderful to see. They even had every sketchbook that you could even think of, every colour, every type of paper, every size. You can tell that I'm still speechless about going in here, and I turned around to my husband and I said, if I was ever an artist in Japan, that is the place that I would go shop. And it's true. It's not something that's going to be happening. I mean, not yet. Maybe at some point in my life, it would be a dream to be able to do art in Japan. However, right now, what I did get was some just little bits for me that I could experiment and play around, because I could have honestly been there and just collected so many ideas that I would have then not been able to do because we were only 4 or 5 days into our 3-week travel. So what I did learn from Hokkaido was that I should probably go through my art materials, have a dig around, see what I actually want to do with my art and get those materials out that has been in the back of my mind that I do want to play around with. and that's going to be coming up in one of my videos in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully between now and then I would have had that chance to have a little play, not only with some items that I actually bought in Hokkaido, but also some items that I've had around for maybe a little bit too long. I know that they say collecting materials is one hobby, using them is another. However, I am going to try and bring them together in my career. I thank you for joining me today in sharing with you where I went in Tokyo and Japan, and I hope that if you ever do go there, that you go and research where you want to be. And definitely, if you're an artist, go to Hokkaido in Tokyo. See you next time.